Alright, so the first part we'll start on is the neck, and then the torso. I'll do the arms, then the legs and feet. Okay, so for the neck, I can't really show you how it would be if you bought the whole doll. This is a hybrid with a Midgie doll Shein head. The first thing I'd like to point out is there's a considerable amount of gapping in the back, but only in the back. It looks great from the front and the sides, so I don't mind. He can look up quite a ways because he's got that big gap in the back. He can look down a lot. Side to side is pretty good. Some of it looks a little unnatural. So I like that part. That's really good, and it seems to be a good tightness too. For the torso piece, he can slouch this much forward, which is pretty impressive for most BJDs, and then that much backwards, which I almost never have them slouch backwards unless they're laying on their stomach, and that's pretty decent without sweating. Alright, the next thing I'll do is the arms. He obviously has that basic range of motion and can hold it up there as long as it's not, I can't remember, there's one part where he wasn't holding it, yeah, like that, and it'll just flop down. But when it's turned out, it's fine, and when it's directly up, he just can't be too much at an angle or it'll fall down. For his arms, he's got a peanut joint. It is double jointed, so he can do the 90-degree angle and then all the way in. You do get this pretty ugly lip right here, but under clothing it's not bad, and it's pretty easy to hide in photography. He can hold poses in between, so like he's got probably a 60-degree angle, 90, and then you can do the same like that and then all the way up. I like that. Some dolls will just be like 90 or all the way up. As for his wrist, I hate his hands. I think these hands are so ugly. I'll be getting jointed hands. He can do, like, make them go down considerably, up pretty well, not a lot of side-to-side motion, and obviously same for the other arm. The next part I'll do is the joint right here. I will take his boxers off for the leg joints, so doll nudity warning ahead. For this one, he has a pretty good range of motion. He can lean forward pretty well, lean backwards pretty well, and it's very slick. I do recommend sueding this part side to side. Alright, so for the next part, we'll take off his boxers. The resin is very slick right now. I think it's just because it's new, and sueding is going to help that out a lot. So for his leg joint, it's your average ball joint. You can go up, but it won't hold without sueding. If you bend his knee, I don't know, it'll hold a little bit. So that part's definitely going to need to be sueded. The next part we've got here is the swivel joint. So he can swivel back and forth. If you pull it apart, it's a ball joint. So in theory, I haven't tried this yet, and he keeps trying to collapse on me. In theory, you can bend it up, and then when you bend his knee to do stuff like that, he can go a little higher. For that, you'll probably have to suede it. So for the next part, I've sat him down just because he kept trying to fall over on me. He definitely needs to be sueded before he'll stand well on his own. So for his leg joints, it's pretty much the same as his arms. You've got a peanut joint here, and same range of motion. He can go a little bit or all the way. You can hold it a little bit there and then all the way. Obviously, it depends on gravity. If he's sitting like that, it'll hold a lot better than when it's directly up. And the last joint is his foot. So we've got just regular ball joint. It can go forward a lot, which I like. It can go back a lot, and it can go side to side some. These need to be sueded a lot because it just goes crazy when I try to stand them up. So I'll be sueding his whole body. And yeah, that's it for the overview. Here's the back, just so you can see it. I do already have a little bit of staining there from his jeans. I'll have to clean that off. And as you can see, as I'm trying to stand him up, he keeps falling. So he's not great at standing on his own, but I think after some sueding, it'll be fine. I don't know if you have a doll where you can feel it's just in their ankle joints that's messing up their standing. That's how he is, because he just kind of pivots on his feet. But yeah, that's him standing from the back. You can see his little dolly butt. And that is it for this review. I'm going to come back later after I've sueded him. Hey everyone, I'm back. I just restrung his legs and sueded his entire body, and I'll show you how it poses now. My two biggest complaints about this are, one, there wasn't enough room in most of his joints to put sueding, so you see a lot of gapping, especially here in his legs, and his knee joints, and in his elbow joints there. I don't like the gapping, and he's very, very stiff now. So he went from being really loose to really stiff. I like my dolls to have some fluid motion so that they'll fall into poses, and usually it'll be more natural. But I guess I can't compromise too much with this one. So I'll start with the neck. I put a ton of hot glue in the back to fill up that gap, and his head will still look down a lot. And I'll look up. That pop you heard was the neck moving off of the hot glue and onto the resin, so that's no big deal. Alright, as for his torso, he can now go that much and hold it, which isn't too much compared to before. And he can go this far back and hold it. One thing I forgot to do in the first part of the review was side to side. You can go that far, which isn't too much of an improvement either, but it's still noticeable. I usually don't post my dolls leaning side to side, so I forget about that one often. Okay, so the next part is here. You can go the same amount forward and the same amount backwards, but what's different is he doesn't slide around, it holds in place. So that's really why I sueded there. He posed just fine before. As you can kind of see, like in his torso right now, he's very stiff, so he's not wanting to fall back into the natural position, which is a bit irritating. As for his arms, he goes up and he holds it really well, especially turned out. And even when you turn it back, it won't fall down anymore. So you can turn it at any angle. His elbow joints will go at very small intervals up. It's a little stiff, but you can do pretty much anything now. I didn't suede his wrists because I'm getting jointed hands, and so I'm going to do it when I get those. Alright, for his legs, he's got a hold up there. That's a huge improvement. We couldn't do any of that before. His knees, we've got very small intervals. That falls a little bit, but it'll hold until about right there, and then it'll fall. It can even go out just a tiny bit. Now it's hard to pop the bottom one out just because it is so tight, but when I do that, it'll hold up to about there. And then for his feet will go all the way up and stay, all the way back. And then not a lot of side to side, but just enough. And that is it. I hope you guys enjoyed this review and somewhat of a comparison, sueding versus not sueding. I highly recommend Andrea's tutorial. Her YouTube channel is Nicole's Dream. She sueded a Unoa, I think, in one of her restoration videos. I've been using this method since I joined the hobby about 3 or 4 years ago, but her tutorial is very good. It's my favorite one on YouTube. It's fairly new, so I didn't learn it from that, but it's just really easy to see what you're supposed to do. And that is it. Thank you guys for watching, and I will talk to you in another video.